It starts with a sound you know. The settling of a house. The groan of timber cooling in the winter night. The click of pipes expanding behind the drywall. You are lying in bed in the safety of your locked home, and you hear a scratch. Just a scratch. A mouse, you think. Just a mouse. But mice don't wear your mother's clothes. Mice don't drink the milk from the carton and put it back empty. And mice certainly don't write messages on your basement wall in blood. Most horror stories are about what tries to break in. This is a story about what was already inside. Waiting. Watch it. Living just inches from where you sleep. This is the case of Daniel LaPlante. Pepperell, Massachusetts, December 1986. It was a cold winter in a quiet town, the kind of place where neighbors know each other's cars and the silence at night is heavy. But inside the Bowen residence on Lawrence Street, the silence had been replaced by a low-level frequency of terror. Frank Bowen lived there with his teenage daughters. They were a family already fractured by grief, having recently lost their mother to cancer. They were vulnerable, and vulnerability, like blood in the water, attracts predators. For weeks, the girls had complained of strange things happening in the house. It started subtly, a television channel flipping on its own, a door left ajar that had been closed, items disappearing. Frank, a pragmatic man dealing with his own sorrow, dismissed it. Kids have imaginations. Grief makes us see ghosts. But the girls were insistent. They heard knocking, rhythmic, deliberate knocking coming from the walls of their bedrooms. Desperate for answers, they turned to a Ouija board, hoping to contact the spirit of their late mother. They asked, "Is anyone there?" And from the hollow space behind the plaster, a knock replied. They thought it was a miracle. They thought Mom was still with them. But the spirit wasn't their mother. The escalation was grotesque. Furniture began to move when they left the room. Fresh milk vanished. And then, the writing appeared. Crude, terrifying messages scrawled on the basement walls in a red substance. "I am in your room. Come find me." It looked like blood. It turned out to be ketchup and mayonnaise, a macabre joke. On the evening of December 8th, the joke ended. Frank Bowen returned home to a scene of chaos. The lights in the house were blazing. The stereo was screaming. The television was at full volume. It was a sensory overload designed to disorient. Frank moved through the house, adrenaline spiking, until he reached a bedroom closet. He opened the door. Huddled inside was not a ghost. It was a boy, but he didn't look like a boy. He was dressed in a bizarre costume, reportedly wearing Native American attire and face paint. His hair spiked in a wild mane. In his hand, he gripped a hatchet. This was Daniel LaPlante, a neighborhood teen, a known loner, a boy Tina Bowen had gone on one single date with and rejected. He hadn't taken the rejection well. He had been living in the house for weeks. He had found a crawl space, a narrow void running alongside the plumbing pipes between the walls. From there, he could access the toilet, the kitchen, the bedrooms. He had watched them eat, he had watched them sleep. He had become the house. Frank Bowen managed to escape that night. He wrestled with the intruder, got his girls out through a window, and fled to a neighbor to call the police. When the authorities arrived, LaPlante had vanished, but he hadn't left the property. An officer scanning the basement noticed a small triangular panel near the foundation. He shined his flashlight into the darkness, and there, squeezed into the dirt and insulation, curled at like a spider, was Daniel LaPlante. The boy in the walls was captured. The town breathed. The nightmare was over, or so they thought. Because the legal system in 1987 made a decision that would have catastrophic consequences. Daniel LaPlante, the boy who terrorized a family from the inside out, was released on bail. He was sent home to his mother in nearby Townsend. He was free. But Daniel LaPlante was not done. The humiliation of his capture seemed to trigger a darker evolution in his psyche. He was no longer content with psychological terror. He began to arm himself. In October of 1987, while out on bail, he broke into a neighbor's home, the Pindell family, and stole 2 Ruger .22 caliber handguns. He was seen in the woods behind his house, practicing, loading and unloading, firing at trees. He was rehearsing. Just down the road lived the Gustafson family. Andrew, a lawyer, his wife Priscilla, a nursery school teacher who was pregnant with their third child, and their two small children, 7-year-old Abigail and 5-year-old William. They were a picture-perfect family. They had no idea that the boy who lived in walls was watching them. On December 1st, 1987, Andrew Gustafson left for work. The house was quiet, but it wasn't empty. LaPlante had broken in. This time he didn't hide in the walls to knock. He waited. When Priscilla came home with the children, LaPlante made his move. The details of what happened next are the stuff of nightmares. Not because of gore, but because of the cold, calculated choices LaPlante made. Court records and later psychiatric testimony revealed that he had multiple opportunities to flee. He heard them coming. He could have jumped out a window. He chose to stay. He confronted Priscilla. He tied her to her bed in the master bedroom. He then took 5-year-old William and put him in a closet. He returned to Priscilla. He assaulted her. And then, with a chilling lack of emotion, he placed a pillow over her head and fired 2 shots. He didn't stop. He went to the closet. He took little William to the upstairs bathroom. He filled the tub, and he drowned him. Then, he waited for Abigail to come home. When she arrived, innocent and unsuspecting, he led her to the downstairs bathroom, and he ended life the same way. 3 distinct acts, 3 distinct choices to kill. When Andrew Gustafson returned home that evening, he walked into a tomb. He found his wife. He found his children. The devastation was total. The community of Townsend was shattered. The creepy kid from down the street had become a monster. LaPlante fled. A massive manhunt ensued. Police dogs, helicopters, state troopers sweeping the woods. He was spotted days later, stealing a car, kidnapping a woman, desperate and feral. He was eventually cornered in a lumberyard in the town of Ayer. He was found hiding once again in a confined space, a dumpster, buried under trash. The trial revealed the depth of his depravity. He showed no remorse. He sat stone-faced. The defense tried to argue insanity, tried to paint a picture of a troubled childhood, but the jury saw the preparation. They saw the stolen guns. They saw the execution-style murders. He was convicted and sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms. Decades passed. LaPlante sat in prison, but the story has one final bitter twist. In 2017, changes in the law regarding juvenile offenders meant that LaPlante was eligible for a resentencing hearing. He asked for a chance at parole. He claimed he was rehabilitated. He claimed he was a changed man. But the court was not convinced. A forensic psychiatrist, Dr. Fabien Soleil, took the stand. He described a man with antisocial personality disorder, a man who lacked the fundamental wiring for empathy. He recounted how LaPlante had described the murders, not with regret, but with a flat, factual detachment. The judge, Elaine Kazangian, looked at the man who had destroyed 2 families. She looked at the man who had turned a home into a slaughterhouse, and she ruled that he would not breathe free air for a very, very long time. Daniel LaPlante is still in prison, but the legacy he left behind is more than just a case file. He changed the way we look at our homes. He proved that the most terrifying thing isn't the monster under the bed. It's the person who decides that your life is theirs to take, who watches from the shadows waiting for the moment you turn the key in the lock. So tonight, before you go to sleep, listen to your house. Listen to the settling wood. Listen to the pipes. And ask yourself, are you sure? Are you absolutely sure that you are alone? You have been listening to All My Fever Dreams True Crime Shortcast. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next one.